Greetings, Honorable Speaker, sir, and this august gathering. A worthy member of the proposition came here, took a pencil, broke the entire lid, and then highlighted a very important concept that I asked the members of the opposition to stay anti-national. And I believe that I'll be an anti-national today because I stand here strongly opposing the motion and countering their statements. A worthy member of the proposition highlighted about a very important concept, highlighted that illegal immigrants are encroachers. But when we look into the concept that what is actually an encroacher is particularly an individual or a group of entity who have occupied land illegally. And what do you mean by occupying a land illegally? Occupying a land illegally clearly means a very basic concept that entire land have not been documented under the government of India or the government of Assam. And in this scenario, it comes to a very conclusive remarks that it is not only the illegal individual who encroaches a land. It can also be the indigenous people of Assam who can be called as encroachers, which makes a very valid point that most of the statements which have been given by the members of the proposition stand null and void. Another worthy member of the proposition highlighted about a very important concept that the Assamese people will become minority in our state. Now, if encroachers are being not removed, now if the encroachers are being removed, we also have to take into consideration multiple acts and the regions now it takes. Now, even if we look into a very popular Supreme Court judgment, the Supreme Court judgment of the Olga Tennessee versus BNC, which happened in 1985, the Supreme Court clearly highlighted any sort of eviction which takes into place have to be done with proper verification and jurisdiction. And in the entire scenario, most of the eviction which have been going on in the entire region of Assam, these are spontaneous. And the moment these are spontaneous, this violates multiple fundamental rights, be the Article 19 or be the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Even the Bokakhat High Court have also highlighted that most of the eviction which have been going on in the entire scenario, those are targeted or a proper verification and jurisdiction which have to be taken into consideration of the Forest Rights Act have not been fulfilled, which itself is a violation of the entire motion. Now, the entire motion is very important to understand few major concepts. Honorable Speaker, sir, when we look into the entire motion, there is a very important concept which talks about the indigenous people of Assam. In the very end, the future of the indigenous people of Assam. But actually, who are the indigenous people of Assam? Does the Indian Constitution or any proper documentation, any proper report of the government of India or the government of Assam make sure that who are actually or defines who are actually the indigenous people of Assam? Because in the entire context, we have to understand a very important concept that the indigenous people of Assam are not been defined. And even most of the communities which thrive in the entire region of Assam, there are a lot of communities who have migrated in a very earlier stage. And which proper boundary line are we considering to consider who are the actual indigenous people of Assam? Now, even we look into a very important core concept of the entire motion, which comes in natural and geographical conditions. Now, when we look into the natural and geographical conditions of Assam, we also have to understand major sections. And most importantly, the Niarami case of 2013. In the entire scenario, the court clearly highlighted that before displacement or before eviction of any sort of thing which comes under this entire section, there should be a proper framework, and those framework have been clearly been removed by the moment eviction have been taken into consideration. And at the end, if we look into the member of the proposition also highlighted about Act 5A of the Eviction Act. But 5A of the Eviction Act, which is the process which have been going on, this clearly violates the Forest Rights Act of 2006, Section A, Clause 5 of the entire scenario. And even after all these arguments, if still the members of proposition are quite adamant to their statements, it quite reminds me of a very simpler fact that unlike the stomach, the brain does not signal when it's empty. With this, do I rest my case? But definitely not my cause. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. Thank you, all this gathering.